Hello there. Tensed about tenses? Worry not. Let's start tenses from scratch. I'll be conducting separate videos on each tense so that I am able to explain you better and you also take some time to grasp it. We'll not hurry up, we'll go slowly and steadily because tenses is one thing where you cannot go wrong. That's the base of language. If you go wrong in tenses, then the entire language will go for a 6. Today's video is on introduction of tenses. Let's first try to know what is the concept of tenses. Tenses express the time reference of an action. Take this example, I study English. Now when I say I study English, it means I am telling you this action which is happening at the present moment. I study English. Let's change the same sentence and make it I studied English. When I say I studied English, it means I am referring to past, an action which I have already done and finished with it. Change the same sentence a little bit more and make it I will study English. Now, what does this line mean? This line means that I have not yet started studying, but I plan to study in future. So the same sentence has been told to you in different time reference. The first reference was present, the second reference was past, and the third reference was future. So when we express an action in comparison to different time reference, whether it is now or it has already been done or it will be done, then that concept is called as tenses. Let's study the same example on a timeline. There are 3 time references here: now, already, and later. Now in terms of tenses, these time references are taken as present, past, or future. So basically the tenses are of 3 types: present tense, past tense, and future tense. When we are talking about tenses, the most important work is done by the verbs. Or what are verbs? The action words. If you look at these 3 sentences, there is one word which is changing and telling us about when an action was done. Can you pick out the word which is changing here? Yes? Study. When I talk about present tense, I say I study English. Now study, which is a verb here, will change if I change the tense in past tense. Let's have a look at this. I studied English. The verb has changed. Let's go to the future tense. I will study English. Now again the verb form changes. So just as we have 3 tenses, we have 3 forms of verbs. They are namely V1, V2 and V3. These are the short forms given for our better understanding. The V1 form of the verb has got the base form of the verb. It is used in simple present tenses or it is used in future tenses along with the word will or shall. V2 form comes only in the past tenses, the simple past tenses. And V3 form, that is the third form of the verb, is used with words like has, have and had in perfect tenses. All the 3 tenses will have 4 major categories: simple, continuous, perfect and perfect continuous tenses. When we use these types of tenses, we are actually telling when and for how long that action happens. Now an action may happen at just one point of time, or an action may be repeated again and again, An action may be repeated for a long period of time, or an action may be repeated for a short period of time. Now, all these time references will fall into these four major categories, and then again under every tense we have all these four major tenses available to us. In today's lecture, I'll just introduce these four main categories under each tense. So let's start with the simple tense first. Let's know simple tenses first along with the examples on each time reference. Let's start. Simple tenses are used for habits or general facts. Any kind of habit which is a habit in the present tense, or any kind of past habit can be spoken in terms of simple tenses. Now, when we talk about simple tenses, all the three tenses will take a different verb form. Let's read out these examples and you will come to know. I ate dinner at 9 p.m. What is the verb here? Ate. Ate is the V2 form of the verb. So whenever we are talking about the second form of verb, the second form of verb will always be taken by past tense. Come to the next one. I eat dinner every night at 9. Now the verb here is eat. Eat is the base form of the verb. That is the first form of the verb, and I'll call it as V1. So present tenses will always take V1 form of the verb. Let's come to the third example. I will eat dinner tomorrow with Uncle Sam. Now this phrase, will eat. Will, the word will tells us that the tense is in the future form. And after will, we will always use the V1 form of the verb, or that is the base form of the verb. So if you look at these three sentences, you will come to know that simple tenses are always used when you are talking about a past action, a present action, but those actions have to be habitual. You may also talk about general or universal facts under simple tenses. Next we move on to continuous tense. And as the word continuous suggests, that an action is still incomplete. It is still in continuity. It is still under the completion cycle. So for such tense forms, we use the verb with ing form. Let's look at these sentences and we'll know that continuous tenses can be formed in all three of them, like past, present and future. I was eating dinner when the bell rang. Let's look at the verb first and how it has changed. Now see, the main form of the verb is eat. But whenever we are talking about any continuous tense, we will always add ing to it. So to the first form of verb, we will add ing, and depending on the time reference, we will add the helping verb. Now here was is the helping verb. So was, am, will, they are all the helping verbs or auxiliary verbs of the main verb. Now if we are talking about past tense, then the helping verb will be was or were, depending on the subject. If the subject is singular, we will add was. If the subject is plural, we'll add were. Come to the next one. I am eating dinner with my friends. Let's spot the main verb here. The main verb is eat again, but it is used with the ing form, which means V1 plus ing form. And what is the helping verb here? Am is the helping verb here because we are talking about present tense. So when we are talking about present tense, the helping verbs or auxiliary verbs will be is, am or are. Since the subject here is I will use am with it. So am becomes my auxiliary verb here. Come to the future tense. I will be eating dinner while others will be playing outside. Now actually there are two verbs here, but let me explain one verb and the second one you'll automatically understand. Let's look at the change in the verb here. Eat is the main form of the verb. Because it is continuous, we have put ing to it, that is V1 plus ing form. And for future, we'll always use the word will or shall. But there is one more extra word used in future continuous, and that is be. So whenever we are making future continuous, we'll always add this word be after either will or shall. That depends on the subject. So that's how for all the three tenses we have continuous tenses, and not to forget that continuous tenses will always be formed when we add ing to it and an auxiliary verb before it. Now let's understand perfect tenses. So whenever there is a reference of two actions happening one after the other, we use perfect tenses there. Now these could be actions completed before another action begins, began, or will begin, which means that I can talk about past tense or present tense or future tense. Let's read the examples and you will understand better. I had eaten dinner when Harry came. Now let's concentrate on the change in the verb and what additional word that we are going to use here. Which is the main verb here? Eaten is the main verb here. And if we look at the three forms of eat, it is eat, ate, eaten. So eaten becomes the third form of the verb, that is V3. Now this V3 word will always be preceded or will always have an auxiliary verb before it. Whenever we talk about perfect tenses, we have three words that come before: has, have, or had. Any one word out of these will come depending on the tense and depending on the subject, whether it is singular or plural. Let's look here first. It's a past tense. In the past tense, whenever we talk about perfect tenses, we will always have the auxiliary word had. In the past tense, we are not concerned about whether the subject is singular or plural. In the past tense, we only see that had will come in the past tense and the verb form will become V3. That's the rule of perfect tenses. Okay, now let's read the sentence again. I had eaten dinner when Harry came. Now if you see, there are two actions happening here. The first action was having dinner and the next action was arrival of Harry, coming of Harry. So when we are talking about two actions, one after the other, we use this tense. Let's look at the present tense. I have eaten dinner and you may relax now. Again, two actions are happening here: eating of dinner and relaxing. These two actions, one after the other. But here we are talking about the present time. So when we are talking about present tense in perfect category, that time we have two options, either to use have or to use has. Have is used with plural subjects and has is used with singular subjects. Now let's look here. Eaten is again V3 form of the verb and it has an auxiliary verb before it, which is have. I'm using here have because with I you use have. Look at the third sentence. I will have eaten dinner when you shall reach. Again, two actions being spoken here. First is eating of the dinner and second is your reaching at that place. So whenever we talk about future perfect tense, now let's look at this label properly. Future perfect tense will be constructed like this. Future, the word will denotes future tense, have denotes perfect tense, and eaten is the V3 form which compulsorily will come after have. The last of the tenses category, perfect continuous tense, is a mixture of everything. It's a mixture of perfect and it's a mixture of continuous. So how do we now understand this? Understand the concept of perfect tense, which means two actions one after the other. Now understand the concept of continuous tense, which means one action out of the two, one action is continuing, it is still not complete. So perfect continuous tenses tell you about one action which is still continuing, and at the same point of time another action happens. Let's see the examples and we'll understand better. Look at the first one. I had been eating dinner when my children went to bed. First, understand the format of the sentence. In this case, the word perfect. I told you whenever you have perfect tense, the words that are to be used are has, have or had, out of which had will come in the past tense. Alright? Then comes the word continuous. Continuous means that verb should have ing form. So therefore you have a verb with V1 form plus ing. That is the verb in the ing form. But to join these two words, one is in perfect, the other is in continuous. To join both the words, there is one word which acts like a bridge between the two ends. And this word is been. This is a common word in all the three tenses. For perfect continuous tenses, we will always have this common word, been. Alright, so the format then becomes have been verb plus ing, or had been verb plus ing, or has been verb plus ing, depending on the tense and the subject. Now this sentence, let's start analyzing this sentence now. I had been eating, that means one action was already continuing when my children went to bed. So when one action of eating was already in continuation, another action of children going to bed happened. Okay, so while one action is still not completed, the second action begins, or the second one starts to happen. Look here, in the present tense, I have been eating dinner since 9 p.m. Now because this is present tense, the perfect auxiliary verb for perfect tense will be have. The main verb will be in the ing form, and to join these words we have a bridge word, been. Okay, now let's read. I have been eating means that action of eating is still continuing the dinner since 9 p.m. Now you would notice there is one extra word here, which is since. What is this since? Since will tell you a point of time of the starting of that action. Since and for are two words which we generally use with perfect continuous tenses to tell a starting point or a range of time. We'll know since and for later in the later videos when I'll explain you this specifically. But for now, you only concentrate on the formation of the tense. Let's come to future. I will have been eating dinner when mother will return from grandma's house. Again, now the future, now both the actions are going to happen in future, but one action out of which will continue for some time, and then again the next action in future will start. Look here, I will have been eating. Now since this is a future tense we will use the word will for future, then have for perfect, then eating verb with ing for continuous tense, and then joining all these words we have one bridge word which is been. Okay, now let's analyze this sentence. It's a big one, I know, but you'll come to know easily. I will have been eating dinner, which means there is a point when mother will return from grandma's house, means in future there is a point of time. By that time my mother will return from grandma's house, and when she will return from grandma's house, that time I will have been eating. That means the action of eating dinner will be continuing till the point when my mom will come back from grandma's house. I know it's a little bit difficult, but this concept of future perfect continuous tense will be more clear to you when we will do this tense separately. So here we finished today's introduction on tenses and what are the main major types of these tenses. But before going, let me just quickly revise all the formats of each tense so that it fits in your mind in a better manner. Please have a look at this table in front of you. So that's all in today's video. See you later. Till then, take good care of yourself and thank you.